Thank you very much for the intro, and I really hope that you are enjoying London Edge AI 2026. I have been with the foundation now for a few years as active academic, trying to push the academic agenda. I remember attending the first European event. It was called TinyML a few years ago. And then we had Amsterdam, we had Milan twice, and here we are in London. I was trying as much as possible to ask to have an event in London, saying we could have a very good weather comparing to Milan. But what do I know? But I have to say, we had an event in Milan where it was raining a lot. And last year it was very hot, so it's not too bad. So I'm a professor in TinyML and Edge AI at Nottingham Trent University, and also honorary visiting professor at Imperial College. So I do a lot of work around TinyML, and also I drive some of the effort towards TinyML, decentralized AI around the UK. So I lead a network that is about to start called TinyML UK, beside many other activities. Over the years, we've been working in my lab, the Smart Sensing Lab, on various projects. I mentioned the TinyML, there's ML missing in here, let's say, as an initiative to drive this area of research and development, beside other activities. So most of my work falls under pervasive computing, what is called now more like physical AI. So we've been working in this area for a long time, more than 20 years, but NVIDIA now call it physical AI, so everybody is calling it the same. And you could see here a wide range of projects. So when we talk here about Edge AI, I do also work on Edge AI as individual device, but also we work on many Edge AI devices. Like, for example, how many people have wearables in here with them? Can't see very well. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we have many people. And I'm not sure what kind of processor you have on your wearable, but I'm assuming it might have some capabilities, MCU, or it might be a simple IoT device. So the art of design for wearable has changed over the years, and many of you are aware, and since you are here at Edge AI, we have much more advanced microcontrollers or devices that can run AI on the device itself. So my effort over the years has been to take that outside of the lab and embed it in almost everything. One of the latest efforts that we are working on is taking Edge AI and TinyML towards disaster management, or even for defense and all sorts of applications where you need this type of heterogeneous system, interaction between robots on the ground, drones, human, to save lives, for example. And that can happen just by exchanging regular messages. You need to come up with some kind of a system, a decentralized system, in order to be able to achieve this. Say, for example, you are in a disaster zone in a country where you don't have a connection to the network. You should be able to create some kind of a local network and make these devices interact and exchange parameters and parts of the model, and then run AI. But let's go through some of the key concepts why I'm trying to build this idea of node learning. I talked about contextual AI or pervasive computing, and when we talk about physical AI, we're really talking about contextual AI. And in my opinion, it's the next big thing, moving beyond language models towards inputting all sorts of data, right? It's not just about text, it's about video, audio, activity, like movements, for example, pollution data, any sort of data that we can put our hands on that can be fed into the model. And most of our work is focused on optimization. So when you have this device that is tiny, small, has 1 megabyte or so, you really don't have the luxury of running billions or millions of parameters. So you have to try to compress that model as much as possible. And we do this all the time. If you check some of my papers or our papers, you will find many of it trying to use traditional machine learning techniques, but we try to find optimization techniques like quantization, pruning, distillation, and so on, until we can compress this model, moving from millions to much smaller model. There are many techniques, and there are accelerators. As I said, these devices are advancing. And also, these devices, as I mentioned, can be used in healthcare, in personalized fashion, and so on. So there are a wide range of applications where edge AI or TinyML can help in terms of personalization. And in technical terms, it means that model can adapt to that person. So beside using a generic data set, we can take that model and make it learn adaptively on the device, taking some of the user's data and make it work for that person, which is great, for self-management and so on. And that takes, let me go back to that, and that takes advantage of something called continual learning. I don't know if many people are familiar. How many people are familiar with continual learning? Okay. So continual learning, I mean, you must have heard of agentic AI. You heard of adaptive AI, AI or models that can adapt, can change. Continual learning is one part of what we do in order to make the model learn as it runs. So it's on-device learning. So it retrains itself, either in full or part or the final layer. And the idea here is that you take a model that might have been trained, let's say, from a drone point of view to run in a particular area, and then this drone moves to another area. And then it should be able to be retrained slightly to fit that new setting, right? But that comes with a cost. Because you might have noticed this with language models. When you are talking to your model, for example, you have a long conversation. You inputted something about, I don't know, your CV, your presentation at the beginning. After a few conversations and discussion, it forgot the previous prompt and started to talk about the latest one and focused on the latest one. Why? Because it starts to forget, and that's called catastrophic forgetting. And also, in our case, with continual learning, because we also feed the new parameters, new knowledge, the model might start to be confused of what it has learned and what it's going to pick up from the new learning input. So we always work on balancing that between continual learning, adding more knowledge, and the previous knowledge that the model has trained on. And that's very important for us. I'll talk about it, why it's relevant. But let's talk about node learning. So taking all of these things, all this development into account, we came up with this idea of node learning. So if you think of, I don't know if you are familiar with federated learning, yeah? Like where you have lots of devices interacting with each others, hospital, or like traditional devices, distributed learning. These devices talk to each others, but they converge at the server. So we say, what if you don't have the server? What if you don't want to send these data to the server and you want to do things locally? So node learning tries to address that. It can start with one device that is continually learning to do devices updating each others to 3 to hundreds to millions. And you could see some of the difference between like traditional federated learning, where you have to converge and average the weights on the server, distributed learning, where you have devices that are interacting, but then you have the collaborative learning, where the devices feed into each other's. They are not just trying to do one computation. They have some kind of intelligence that might be different from the other one, and they complement each other's. And in a sense, you could imagine you have a processor that is big. Cut it into small pieces, spread it around. It still runs the same AI model. From the user point of view, it should feel the same. You might ask, how can we do this? Like we need devices, we need wearables, we need tools. But as I mentioned earlier, we have wearables. We could just create a node learning infrastructure in here. We could use these little drones. We could build our own drones. We could build our own robotics. We could have a heterogeneous system that interacts between different devices. But what are the benefits of node learnings besides what I mentioned? So again, if you check your wearable, each of those might have 1 megabyte, 2 megabytes. Collectively, we will have, I don't know, let's say we have 20, we might have, let's say 100 megabytes together. And that's a bigger resource than trying to run a model on one single device. So collectively, we might be able to run the model if we need to escape this space, for example. So resource sharing, not just in terms of memory, but also this device might have camera, the other device might have, I don't know, audio capture, another device might have different type of sensing modality. And they all, I mean, as you can see here, work together to achieve a goal. There's no one responsible for this network. They all work together. And as I said, it's complementary. They work with each other. They try to achieve a goal. Take, for example, if you are in the wood and you want to find the missing person, if you have one person, it might take half an hour. If you have two people, it takes, I don't know, less. If you have three people, it takes even less and less, right? So the idea of node learning is that if you bring all the efforts together, you'll be able to achieve the task faster with less delay. And there's just some slides on how we achieve this. I might not be able to go through all of these, but you have different agents with different modalities, and it starts with like giving them all the same weight, but then this device might have made many mistakes. We give it less weight, and we keep adjusting. So the system itself knows which device in this particular view might be able to achieve best results for this particular task. We have been doing many projects. I mean, you could check my publications relevant to this area, but for example, object detection, a recent paper we just put on the archive recently, where it looks at sharing features using YOLO engine in a way that if you are, for example, of one drone or one device looking at an object from one side and another from another side, this object is occluded, together they can build the whole image and make sense of what this object is. And you could see here moving from one line to combined weighted boxes. Another paper about to come out, which is on non-destructive testing. So imagine you have a device, you have an engine, you have aircraft that need to be tested rapidly before it takes off. We've been working on using audio between multiple devices that are trying to make sense or to detect anomaly in that engine or device to be able to be detected in time. We also work on parallel processing. It's not just about parallel devices, but also the device itself might have many processors. They work together to achieve the task. Again, I don't think I have much time to explain that, but we've been working on different settings where we run one modality on one, like for example, if you have one of ARM processors, you have two different possibilities to run the model. So you run one on the audio, one on the vision, and then you combine them together on the much faster processor. And you can save some time instead of doing it sequentially. And also we've been working with some different settings, like when we have TPU, we could run 3 different models at the same time. There are many challenges to do this. So of course, the idea is very good, but take into account that this requires testing, a lot of devices, especially if you have drones, devices, how to set up this, the data itself. So it's not as easy as it sounds, but we're making some steps towards trying to come up with solutions to this area. And also human-centric design as well is one of the issues that we face, like who takes control of this? What about human in the loop, or do we do it in agentic ways that no one is involved? And it depends on the application. Just a few things before I finish. We have been working, as I said, with many stakeholders. We have our Green Plus network funded by the UK government to work with green spaces and try to embed and come up with ideas for edge AI, pervasive computing, and any tools. Like, for example, we have the National Highways, we have Sport England talking to us, we have Kew Gardens, we have Canal and River Trust. All these organizations are interested to see how can we embed technology to improve cleanness, health, infrastructure, safety, and so on. And we have an event on Thursday. If you happen to be here in the UK or you want to join us in Birmingham, you are welcome. And I mentioned before the TinyML UK, which will take off in a few months' time, hopefully, where we will try to work with Edge AI Foundation to bring the innovation of TinyML, decentralized AI, to UK and grow our community. And that's it. Thank you.